Welcome, welcome, welcome to Moms in the Huddle. We're in the huddle. No parent stands alone. I am your host, Erica Morgan, mom of Division One football player Samaj Josiah Morgan. I shouldn't put his whole name on there, but I'm his mom.
Josiah.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm your other host, Jillian Blackwell. I am the mom of actually three boys, but my second child, I was going to say my third child, I only have three boys. My second child is Jonathan Blackwell. He just happens to play for the University of Wisconsin. He's a D1 basketball player. And that's why we're here. We're moms in a huddle.
Yes, yes. And here's the thing. This show is not just for moms. It's for parents, coaches, dads, NIL representatives. We're talking about everything as it relates to the NIL deals. Today is going to be a great show because we're going to be speaking with someone that has direct knowledge of what this NIL, name, image, and likeness, and contracts, and all the deals that we're dealing with today in today's landscape. So this show is not about us being experts, but what we are, Jillian, is what? Experience.
Yes, we have experience. Erica and I have been in the huddle for a long time. My boys played football and basketball together when I think they were in the fourth grade. They had an opportunity to play in the junior NBA together. So we've been in a huddle for a long time. And our goal is to share with you the information that we've accumulated over the years. And now that our children are in college basketball, college sports, the landscape has changed so much that we decided that we need to share them with other moms, other parents, and bring in experts, bring in coaches, bring in other athletes to share with you what that journey looks like.
Yeah. And here's the thing. In the huddle, there's real conversation.
Yes.
There's real experience. We're going to talk about what it means and the realness of what the journeys look like. So it's more than just about us just sitting here giving our experience about our kids. We're giving experience about other people's children. We got upcoming shows. We're going to have a show coming up in July where a mom, her son came on as a walk-on a football team, but now he earned a scholarship. So she's going to be in a huddle with her son to talk about that journey of them coming from a walk-on to a scholarship. Everybody got journeys, right?
Yes,
so that's what Moms in a Huddle is about. Jillian, today's topic of what we're talking about NIL and contracts. What's your knowledge on that? What do you see?
Listen, that has changed the landscape. When I first heard about name, image, and likeness, I didn't know. I truly honest, I had no idea what it was until my son got to Wisconsin, and I think he was doing a deal with a t-shirt company, and so we kept going back and forth with the contract, and my eyes were like enlightened. Like, oh, this thing is real. They're going to pay my son to do X amount. And so it's a very interesting landscape. It's gotten much better because one, I've educated myself. Representation, you have to have representation. So we had to have a lawyer with us to kind of walk us through that information. And I can tell you, if you do not have the right representation that is for you and understands the landscape, it's a scary journey. And so we started that journey and we said, hey, we need help. How do we get help? So it's been very, very good for my son. But as a parent, it was an eye opener.
Yeah. And I want to take the opportunity now. If you are right now on YouTube or our Instagram or Facebook, you go and let other people know. Come join this conversation with us. Come with your questions. Follow us on YouTube at Moms in the Huddle, on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, all the social medias. We're Moms in the Huddle. Go tell your friends to join the conversation today. Get in the huddle.
Absolutely. And, some people might say it's old school, but we also have a website. You can check us out at momsinthehuddle.com. There's an area where if you want to, there's a certain topic you want us to talk about, check that out. Go out and fill out the information. We'll be back with you. And we're super excited. If you want to come on a show, if you have an idea, if you are a mom, a parent, a coach, and you want to spend some time with us in the huddle, we'll love to hear from you.
Yes. So, Jillian, I'm excited for who's coming to our stage and coming into the huddle today. We have Jordan Rassam and his beautiful wife, Chanel Rassam, and they're from Fifth Quarter Sports. Jordan just happens to be an attorney and a sports agent, but how exciting it is to have guests on like this that's going to give our parents knowledge. What do you think about that? Because this landscape is forever changing, If no one gives us knowledge, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, that's the scary part. And so again, the purpose of every time we come in a huddle together is to bring experts who know what they're talking about, that can give you the information, give you nuggets, give the tools that you need to support your student athletes. So I'm excited about having both of them on the call. And I love the fact that Chanel is there. I won't go into her resume yet and her background, but I'm excited about her. I know we know them. We had got a chance to spend some time with them. Has it been 2 weeks ago already?
Yeah.
I'm just excited for us to share with you the jewel that we have on this call, the two jewels that we have on this call.
Yes. Well, and I'm going to start by letting our audience know who Jordan Rassam is. Jordan Rassam is just not a attorney turned sports agent. Jordan actually was in the trenches as a football player. Let me just read this man's resume, because when I say your character and who you are and what it is you're going to present to the world speaks volumes about you, right? So Jordan is actually the president of football operations at Fifth Quarter Sports. He attended and played varsity football at St. Joseph's College in Indiana, which is Division II school. It was located in Wrestler, Indiana. He is a 4-year letter winner and starter. He was the All Great Lakes Football Conference team selection in 2004, as well as an All-American Northwest team selection in 2004. He set school records in tackles for losses, which for a season, which was 22 in 2004. His career was 43 from 2001 to 2004. Let me tell you, this dude was a football player. Then on top of that, his life, he received his Juris Doctorate degree from University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. That's my alma mater, my undergrad. And he is a member in good standing of not just the Michigan State Bar in 2012, but also the California State Bar, admitted in 2 states in 2017. He founded Jordan Rassam Law. He's a full service boutique law firm ever since 2012. His areas that he practices not just sports agent, criminal defense law, business contract law, civil litigation, cannabis law, municipal law, and in-house general counsel roles. He also started extensively in the cannabis industry in 2014, where he was assisting different clients in obtaining municipal and state licensure and managing all regulatory and compliance matters, in addition to brokering various mergers and acquisitions between parties in his network. Let me tell you, this dude comes with so much experience. Actively working with various multi-state operations. He operates in Michigan, California, Illinois, Florida, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Washington, and Oregon to acquire and sell cannabis assets, as well as assisting in entry in new markets. Now, this is what got me here. This dude, when I say dude, has brokered transactions totaling in upwards of $20 million. He is also a part of the Michigan Super Lawyers Rising Star Selectee from the cannabis law from 2019 to the present. He is named the D Business Top Lawyers list from 2018 to the present. Man, let me tell you, his resume really speaks for itself. This man, I'm just going to give you an applause before you even come to the stage, Jordan, okay? Here's the thing. You got to have someone next to your side. And you know what? She's no chopped cookie herself. Go ahead, Jillian, and let's go ahead and introduce thee.
We already know behind every man, powerful man, stands a strong woman. So I want to introduce you guys to Chanel. She is a graduate of the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. Let's pause right there. Letting everybody else in there with the BBA in finance and marketing. She completed her master's at Wayne State Ilitch School of Business, an MBA in business strategy. She worked at General Motors for 13 years. Most recently in finance, she managed $2 billion with the B. I didn't say million, $2 billion with the B in corporate staff's budget, and had a team of 6 people. Her positions range from engineering to marketing to OnStar to customer experience and finance. Obviously, she's married to Jordan, but this woman right here, she has been a little busy too, because she has daughters ages 9, 8, and 7, back to back, and a sweet little boy son who's right now, he's 4 months old. She is officially retired. Yeah, after 4 babies, Jordan, please.
That'll retire any woman, won't it?
From General Motors. I got tired just reading it. From General Motors, she's on helping her husband grow, not his business, their business, fifth quarter. And so this is her first, she told us, this is my first podcast. It's my first speaking engagement representing the company. And so she's super excited to be with us. And last, certainly not least, her title there not only is she operates as the agency operations and client relations, but she's also the team mom because she handles anything and everything that comes their way for their clients, from client relationships, social media, booking, travel, schedule, planning events, camps, making sure that her spouse, significant other, I was about to say her baby daddy, but I probably won't say that. Anyway, just making sure that Jordan is where he needs to be and has all the tools and resources to run a successful business. So would you welcome Chanel to the stage, and also her husband, Jordan, to the stage with us?
Woo, 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 woo. Welcome to the Huddle.
We're in the Huddle.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Say that one more time.
We're in the Huddle.
Okay.
Yes.
Y'all are in the Huddle officially. Let me tell you, Jordan, Chanel, when I say it's an honor to have you, your energy is contagious. Both you and Chanel bring so much love. You bring personal touch to what you do. It's an honor to have you here in Moms in the Huddle, and just what you're going to share today, just what's going down here with our on our line. We're going to be talking about NIL contracts. We're going to be talking about the NIL, the name, image, and likeness of the players, whether you are a basketball player, a football player, a soccer player, a track star. What does your name, image, and likeness mean to the schools? So, Jordan, you're here. We're going to question and talk to you. This is a raw environment. This is your time to shine, okay? So
well, can I just say one thing? Y'all are in for a treat. Y'all got Jordan, his wife, and Erica, who's an attorney. So this is going to be so I might just sit back and learn some stuff. So if I'm not talking about, it's because I'm over here typing and taking notes. I just want to give y'all that FYI for right now.
Yeah, let me tell you. So Jordan Rassam, we went to your website. It says a leadership team that can't be beat. Jordan, before you even get to fifth quarter sports, what is your journey to your pathway to where you are now? How did you start? What was football for you when you were younger?
So first and foremost, thanks for having us, guys. It's an honor for us to be here to speak to you guys and your audience. For myself, that's a big question. What is football to me? So football, I have a special relationship with the game. To me, football gave me the life I have today, right? I played high school ball, and if not for getting a scholarship to play in college, I probably don't go to school at the time, go to college at the time. I probably go into other avenues, other businesses, other ventures. And honestly speaking, at the time, I probably wouldn't have gone to college. But I got a scholarship. I had one Division II offer. It was in Indiana, in the middle of the cornfields. Being a kid from Southfield, growing up in Southfield my whole life, it was a little bit of culture shock. But I would say it was probably the formative experience of my life. It really was that coming of age, going from a boy to a man, so to speak. Not a man yet, because as now being a husband and father, you realize being a man is a lot more than just going to school, and getting a certain age, right? But as far as the game, again, to tie it back in, is it gave me an opportunity for the life I have today, because I got my degree. When I came back home and ultimately decided that I needed to get more out of myself, I was able to go back to law school because I had that degree in my back pocket, right?
Right.
And then from there, my life, took a drastic change,
Wow.
So the game is it means more to me than your average person, right? I've lived it I'm 42 years old in some way or form. I've lived it since I was 10 years old. I've been involved with the game. So it was only fitting that my professional life would ultimately take me there as well.
This is the first season that he has not played football in 35 years, right? 35
Wow.
In some capacity.
In some
Yeah.
capacity.
Wow. Because you do other sports like what is it? It's a football league that you're a part of too.
Yeah, I was part of a long-standing football league in our community. It's like a flag football league, highly competitive. But yeah, it's time to hang them up. I'm two hip replacements down.
Ooh.
It's time to take up tennis. You know what I'm saying?
Pickleball, baby.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. Well, you know, I had a question for you. I just wanted to know. So you are, you know, you played football, you graduate from college, you go and get your law degree. So what inspired you to transition from practicing law full time to becoming a sports agent and launching Fifth Quarter Sports?
That's a great question. So when I was graduating law school, I graduated law school in 2011. By the time I took the bar exams and was licensed, it was 2012. At the time, the economy wasn't great, and for rookie attorneys, there weren't so many jobs out there. Right? The market was a little bit it was bleak for young attorneys. Right? Which it's a blessing from God for me, is how I look at everything in my life, because I was just made to go off on my own and start my own practice, and that's what I did. And I was with this lovely lady at the time. We were dating, and it was time to get serious and to get married. So I really was out there, eating what I killed, so to speak. I had to hunt. When you're on your own, you got to get your own business. So that, for me, what that meant was I had to really take in any business that came in the door, right?
Right.
Which allowed me to become well-rounded, right? And to get a lot of experience doing a lot of different things. And just the way it works out is you get a lot of criminal defense work when you're young, when you're
Mhm.
starting out, when you're taking whatever business comes in at whatever discounted rate, you have to take it, right?
That's
Um,
right.
but that was probably some of the greatest experience I've gotten in my life, because as
Mhm.
you know, Erica, um, when you're talking about representation, which is what I do today in
Yeah.
various forms, whether it's a business or it's a football player, right?
Yeah.
There's no pressure or there's no responsibility like defending someone's livelihood, their freedom,
Yes.
right? When that's at
Right.
stake, there's a certain level of seriousness there, right?
Mm.
And when you have to go in front of a judge and speak and argue, and you have someone's life on the line, so to speak, right?
Yes.
You have to take your craft seriously and what you do seriously, and that's just, I mean, I'm a football player that wasn't the biggest, fastest, strongest by any means.
Yeah.
I was successful for the mere fact that I was a grinder, that I would just
Mm.
outlast, outwork. I'll see you in the fourth quarter, right? When
Right.
everybody's dead, we go to the deep water, right? That was my
Mm.
game. That's how I was able to make up for the lack of size, speed, measurables, right?
Right.
That was my superpower. Well, that's just how I live life and how I do everything, right? I have to,
Mm.
if I don't put the work in, if I don't, I don't feel confident, right? I don't feel
Right.
comfortable.
Yeah.
So when I was starting out, I had to really put the work in,
Yeah.
and I was doing a lot of work that required it. I was doing litigation that, required you to put the time and work into, it's the type of work that's not just easy transactional stuff, so to speak,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's the real lawyer work, as you would know. And I didn't have a choice. So I got my base in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that springboarded me forward. In Michigan, as you know, the cannabis laws changed around 2016 as far as the businesses go.
Right. Right.
I started representing, just because I was a criminal defense attorney. A lot of my clients were in the space. A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
people I knew from when I was growing up were in the space. So I was a criminal defense attorney that was on retainer with a lot of people. And I wouldn't say overnight, but almost overnight, they
Hmm.
changed into business clients, right? From
Wow.
criminal clients to business clients. And I had a whole new practice. And with that came municipal law, which is I became very adept at that.
Right.
Um, with that comes obviously the contracts and the business law aspects, the mergers and acquisitions,
Right.
the licensing and regulatory compliance work, right?
Mhm.
You had to learn that. And it was just like, it was happening at such a rapid pace that we were just thrown into the fire, right?
Right. Right.
And it's funny because that was like earlier on in my legal career. And then flash forward to where we are today. And this new world that I'm in now, it's
Oof.
the same thing in that it's a brand new world. We're kind of at the ground floor and the rules are being written, right?
Oh,
So it's like
Yeah.
deja vu for me almost. I said, oh yeah, I've been here before in a different realm, in a different arena, so to speak,
yeah.
right?
Wow.
So about 3 years ago, it's 2022. I had always told Chanel, like it was always like a yearning for me to be involved in the sports representation space because
Right.
for me it's the perfect marriage of all my acumen, right? My
Mhm.
business acumen, my football acumen, my legal acumen. So what else? I've always said I'm gonna approach this. I looked at it early on in my career and quickly realized you need to grow up and you need to level up before you can even think about this because this takes resources,
Oh,
Yes.
it
yeah.
takes relationships, contacts.
Right.
I have a little bit, I need a lot more.
Right.
So I told myself maybe 5, 6 years prior that I will revisit this one day, right? It'll
Right.
come back.
Mhm.
So it was the summer of 2022, and there was a young attorney in my office, and he
Mhm.
said, I'm going to take the agent exam. I said, you know what? I'm going to take it with you.
Mhm.
So I take it, I pass it, and
Awesome.
I say, this is October 2022. And I say, all right, what am I going to do now? I had always told my wife, like, I love what I do as far as like, I'm very blessed and grateful in my legal practice.
Right.
It's enabled me to start a family, feed my family, and it's done wonders for me in my life. That being said, there was an emptiness. I was yearning for something else. There's something else I was made to do. I knew it, right? So when I took this exam and I passed it and I got licensed now, and I said, okay, I looked at my wife, and to be honest with you, she's the impetus for everything.
Aw.
Like, if not for her, I never do this. I
Well,
never
let
Um,
me
get involved
well, let me ask
because
you this though, Jordan, because you said something so key. You took this test in 2022, became an agent right around about the time when NIL landscape started to
oh,
change,
yeah.
right?
no accident.
What did you notice that was changing? And like you're saying, this is like new territory. What did you notice regarding name, image, and likeness? Because for those that don't know, NIL means your name, your image, and your likeness. When you took that agent's exam, what was missing then when they start legalizing this? Like it was the floodgates were open.
Oh, okay. So
Wow, wow.
that's a wonderful, wonderful question. So
Mm.
because it's still you see a little bit today, people more than anything, people needed to be educated on it. And I remember coming
Yes.
out and lawyer, like you, what do you do? I research, I dive in. I said, let me find out, let me see what's going on with this. And there was such little reliable information, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of, he said, she said, things like this. You never know what's true. So it's like, where's the reliable information? Like, what is
Mhm.
name, image, likeness? How are they paying? How is the collectives? I kept hearing
Yeah.
collective. What's a collective?
Right.
How is it working? You almost had to piece it together. And
Mhm.
I am not gonna lie, your husband, Erica,
Yeah.
Mr. Samaj Morgan Sr. To
Yeah.
me, forever will be a legend to me
Oh,
because
thank
of
you.
how he like we kind of almost navigated the space together, and he opened up a lot of
Yeah.
like doors for me, and he was figuring it out, and he done. I always told you guys, you and him did a marvelous job
Thank you.
with this that. As far as like high school kids coming to college, I never saw anybody more prepared for it than
Mhm.
Samaj Jr.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's like to this day I say it. He was so ready for it where veterans on the team were almost like, whoa, like
Right.
this young kid, freshman coming in, he's got more things, action. And that's a credit to
Yeah.
you guys more than
Yeah.
anything.
Thank God
You
for
guys
that.
did the research, you worked. But
Yeah.
when you're getting started, you're figuring, what is this name, image, likeness? How are they paying the players? And ultimately, what it was is collectives, booster clubs raising money,
Mhm.
and it was the opposite of what it's supposed to be. Essentially, it was pay for play, right?
Right.
They're paying guys certain amount, but
Yep.
they weren't supposed to be pay for play. It wasn't allowed at the time, right?
Mhm.
But that was their way. They said, okay, we're gonna pay them through marketing deals or appearance fees, or
Right.
we're gonna have them come to 10 autograph signings and come in this, and then we can pay them for that because we're profiting off their name, image, likeness, right?
Right.
But essentially, those deals were going towards players as, however they worked it out. It was essentially pay for play,
Yeah.
right? That's what it was. And it was just trying to figure out what was what. And everybody was tight lipped about who was getting what, or was this number accurate? What is the real contract? How is this structured? So, and that's what I came into. It was just, and everybody's trying to figure out something, right? So, I mean, I think we got a little bit better grasp on it now that we've been around for a little bit. We've done
Yeah.
some deals, we understand. And now with obviously the new NCAA, the House versus NCAA settlement, there's
Yes.
a lot of things that are a little bit more clearer as towards that. But in the early days, Wild West, I think is even underselling it. It's beyond the whatever was before the Wild West when it was
Right.
lawless. Before that, that's what it was, and that's what it's kind of still. I mean, it's a dangerous, dangerous world. It's a wild world, right?
Yeah.
Because you're tying the transfer portal now, and
Oh
it's
my.
all kind of ties, and I'm sure we'll dive into that. And it's just like there's a lot there, But early on, it was trying to find out how this all worked. It was challenging. I'm
Wow.
not, I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. Only through experience can you really learn.
We
Yeah.
have a question here from Tony Hunter. She said, "What's the most rewarding part of representing athletes for both of you?"
I love that.
Good
Great question.
question.
You want to go first?
No, you go.
Okay. I'll take the lead.
That's
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So this is gonna be like when I talked to you guys earlier about that yearning, right? What was I missing? What was missing in me? Like what was pulling me, right? Um, for the most part, my whole life I served myself. And then even when it was early in my career, I served my family, right? That's serving ourselves, right?
Right.
In my practice. And yes, I served others, right? In your legal practice, you're doing service to others, you are helping. But a
Right.
lot of times it gets to the point sometimes where you miss that individual touch,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
When I got into this space, the first few guys I started working with, and you realize some of the situations a lot of these young men and women come from,
Yes.
and you realize like you're just you can be hope to them in any
Yeah.
small part, right?
Oh,
You feel I realize I need to be here serving others, right? And that's where I got it. And then really you think you're serving them, they're really serving you, right? Because
Mm.
it filled a void for me, and I said, okay, I'm
Wow.
supposed to be doing this. This is what I like.
Yes.
relation.
If you have that like aha moment, that come to Jesus moment, that where
Yeah.
God like kind of like opens, the spirit comes, he opens it up for you, right? You'd be
Yes.
like, all right, this is the perfect mix of everything I have, right? And I
Mm.
really when you really you can be of service to somebody else in some way or give them some help or hope or whatever that is, right? Even if it's an ear to
That's right.
listen to, right? Um, it's like there's nothing better than that,
I
right?
love
And
that.
Right.
that's the most rewarding part for me. That's it's what keeps you coming back, right? Because you
Right.
deal with a lot of like hard things in this business. People think it's very glamorous. I would say
Mhm.
it's 90% grind and 5%
Wow.
glam,
Oh
right?
wow.
It's a lot
Okay.
of behind the scenes, a lot of things putting out fires, so to speak, right? Which is what I'm used to in my legal career, right? I'm used to putting out those fires, but you do a lot of behind the scenes that's not pretty or glamorous. That's not always the easiest to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's in those times of adversity you find out who's real, right?
That's awesome. That's
Which is
awesome.
yeah, the glamour lady next to you. What's your response, Janelle?
So so piggybacking off of what he said, right? Obviously, it's watching these athletes, right, get to the next step in their lives. And I think for me, the biggest or the most rewarding part has been you guys, right? Erica, it's sitting
Mm.
in the stands in the big house and watching our baby catch his first touchdown, right? Like standing
Yes.
there next to you and
Yes.
watching that moment because like, you know, my kids are young still. They haven't gotten to the high level athletics yet.
Right.
But knowing what you guys poured into your sons, right? And what goes on behind the scenes and what you have to do to be, you know, team mom and everything to get them to that level. And then to watch it kind of all come to fruition and, you know, watch them really just, it's their dream. It's your dream, right? It comes true. So I think for us, it's kind of like that, or for me at least, it's that like warm, fuzzy feeling of just being with the families, being part of it, tailgating before, you know, calling, oh my gosh, we just watched this play, you know, we saw John play. So it's just, I don't know, for me, it's that part of it too.
I love that. I love one of the things that you said, both of you talked about your experience being with the people. You talked about spending time with the family. And when I think about engaging an attorney or a sports agent, I think about building trust and building trust with the family, building trust with the athlete. So this kind of question is actually for both of you guys, but I want to start with Chanel. So how do you like help your husband build and maintain trust with collegiate athletes, high school students that are going to college, and their parent and/or parent, right? Because sometimes we dealing with folks that are coming from a single family household who may not have ever dealt with any legal contracts before, never had an age before. This is a new landscape for them. So how do you not only build but maintain the trust with them?
Yes.
Honestly, I think it's just being there, being a constant presence, you know what I mean? And letting them know like, hey, you're not a transaction to us, right? We want to get in, we want to build with you. We want, like I said, we want to be there in those moments with you. And we've seen it, right? Like we've from everything from, you know, we've seen people sign NFL contracts, right? But it's kind of like the little things, like when, you know, your son Erica and Jillian, right? You're kind of passing not him to another person, right? But like if you want someone to take care of your baby, you got to make sure that that person is taking care of your baby the way, you know, not as you would, but close, right? And you know, it's making sure they get to the Uber, getting an Uber to get to the airport on time. It's making sure their flight doesn't get canceled. It's making sure they make it home on time to make their NIL engagement, you know, at a certain time. So it's all these like little things behind the scenes, I think, that help us build the trust with the families. Because again, it's not just like, hey, I want to be there, you know, because your son's a star athlete and we want to be part of his contract when he makes it to the next level. It's like, no, you know, I want to be there in the good moments, the bad moments. I want to be that first call. Like something bad happens, I got to call Chanel, I got to call Jordan, right? I got to call mom, and then I got to call Jordan. It is what it should be, right? So we've, you know, we've been blessed to work with great families, honestly, since we've started. And I remember one of the first times I had an interaction with an athlete we worked with, mom. She looked at us and she said, I knew there had to be a woman behind Jordan because there were so many little touches that she's like, I knew there was a mom. There had to be some motherly figure kind of making sure that like these little details were taken care of for my baby, etc. And you know, I think that's just part of it, you know, and not to discount anything from like a big agency standpoint, but when you come to like a more boutique family oriented firm, right, you're getting that personal touch. And like your baby is my baby, right? I'm going to treat your sons like I treat my kids. So
and you know, I will say a lot of people don't know this. I don't know if I'll not get in trouble, but I'm going to just put this out there. One thing I can say that gave us trust, even with Jordan and Chanel, is Jordan was not one of those attorneys that was coming saying, sign the contract, sign the contract, sign the contract, right? Jordan came and was just like, listen, I'm here and I'm going to be here for you and your family. And yet have we just sat up there and he's thrown contracts in our face, which is what most sports agencies do. And that's why you can't build trust, because people want to be looked at as a individual, as a family, and not just as a transaction. So I can say at Fifth Quarter Sports Management, you guys do show that personality of family, that personality of, oh, I can trust my kid with Jordan and Chanel because they're going to take care of him. You understand what I'm saying? And as a mom, all that other stuff go out the window. See, you can say what you want. I do have, like you say, Jordan, when you're an attorney, you see so many things and everything is so much talk. But the personality that you and your family and Fifth Quarter Sports that I've seen you brought to your players, it's beyond great. And I love that trust. And Jillian, that's a great question, because you do have to trust the people that's handling your money
And
and
listen,
contracts for you.
and when we talk
Oh,
about the huddle, you're in the huddle with that person.
Right.
yeah.
It's not because you signed a contract. That part is transaction because you got to do the business, right?
Yeah.
But when you become a part of your family, the
Mhm.
fabric of what we do, and when I think about, we've been raising these children up and being in the trenches, and now to what you said, Chanel, now we're saying, you're trustworthy. So I love it.
Absolutely. Chanel said it. She said it perfect. I can't even expound much on what she said, because she's right. Like it's you build trust with people by having real interactions, going through real things together over time, right? You see who's consistent. That's all I ever when I spoke with you guys, when I speak to anybody, it's you know, I'm willing, let's just see how we work together. Let's see how it goes. You don't have to sign anything with me. I don't need any commitment. If I can be of value, then that's great.
Yeah.
Over here, what we do, and we say it all the time, and we're in the service business. So
Yes.
what do you do? How do you differentiate yourself? It's the level of service you provide, the value you provide outside of what everybody, that's what I realize, and no knock on the industry at all, right? But I feel like it's kind of like, I feel like it's an edge for us, is that we come into the industry, my partners, myself, my wife, with diverse backgrounds, right? Not just from the sports agent world, right?
Right.
So a lot of the way think people did business, or the way things are done, I just didn't. I was like, that doesn't make sense to me, So I'm gonna kind of do it my own way. And like one thing I always tell my team, anybody that works with us, all our people, is obsess over providing value, right? Always look to provide value to your client, and it's not just, especially when you talk about there's certain things that a player of Jonathan or Samaj's stature, right? There's people coming to them. Their contracts are coming to them with big dollars already, right? So you have to be careful with the people that are coming to you right away and saying, "Oh yeah, I can help you with that." It's like, well, how much help do I need? My son is already on. You know what I'm saying? So where can we provide? So we always come into it. Where can we provide value elsewhere? And we feel more than anything, it's in our network, it's off the field, it's getting our young men and women to think you're not just an athlete, like you're more than an athlete. And I know it's cliche nowadays to say that, well, more than an athlete, but it's the truth. You're so much more, right?
Yeah.
And we want you at fifth quarter, like it's a success for me when our athletes are doing things off the field, right? Or off the court, and they're being successful in other avenues of their life, in other areas. So when they're done playing their respective sport,
That
the
part
question
right there.
the question is not, they are not asking the question, what do I have to do next? It's what do I want to do next? More than anything. If that's my job, I feel. Maybe other agents, they'll tell you, no, it's to get you the biggest contract. No, my job as your closest confidant representative is to remember at the end of the day to set you up and to put you in the right rooms with the right people. More important than money, the right people, the right network, and let you tap into that. This way we can play off your career, and one thing plays into the next, right? It's to set it up long term. And that's long thinking. That's long building relationships. You know how we do things. We're not short-term people. I do everything thinking long term. When I speak to anybody, I'm thinking, if I were gonna have a relationship, I want to have a relationship with you for 10, 20 years, I can't wait. I look at Michael Jordan's relationship with his agent, right? They were fucking, they were together after basketball and movies and this and all kinds of things. And that's how I envision it, right? With our guys and our young women, is we build relationships together that are going to be long lasting, and it's far beyond the field. It's in life. I want to be there, and I want to be involved in the biggest moments of your life. When you propose to your girlfriend, when you have your first child, when you deal with a death, right? When you have a major injury,
That's
When
deep.
the
That's
whole
deep,
world
Jordan.
is
when
against
you
you.
don't have a major injury. No, I'm just joking.
No,
Yeah,
100%.
no,
Not that. It's just,
that's the truth, though, Jordan. These
you know,
boys
when
are dealing with injuries, and
or
because
you're dealing with the weight of the world and there's
that's true.
everybody's against you, or you had a bad performance and the world is
Yes.
killing you. When everybody's
So
running away from you,
true.
that's what we run to the fire. Like
That's
I
right.
look
Yeah.
for the adversity. Some people are great, and I'm not dogging anybody.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
not a dog
No,
anybody,
we
but some
listen.
people are great. We call them front runners. When things are going good, everybody's the
Oh yeah,
biggest cheerleader, the best.
that's right.
When the adversity comes, they're nowhere
Nobody
to be
cares.
found, right? And there's some people that maybe when things are going great, you might not see them. They might be in the periphery. You might not know they're
Right.
around. But when the fire comes, they're run to the fire. I
love
like to say we're the ones that run to the fire. We're
Come
not
on,
always looking for the
Yeah.
praise or I think like I want to be there in the moments of adversity. We have an athlete we work with. We
Mhm.
had a moment during the season, this
Yeah.
past football season, where on a road trip, on a game, there was just something that went haywire for the game, this and that, and there was a postponement of the game.
Mhm.
And just being able to be there when the game was postponed to help navigate the situation.
Yeah.
And then I had to leave the next day before I could even have the game. But I remember telling them, I'm just glad I'm here when the bad time was here, right?
Yes.
When the adversity was here. That's what I look for. I look for when the adversity comes, how can I be of value?
awesome.
And
Right?
you know what? And that right there, Jordan, says the quality of what a player would get if they come to fifth quarter sports. Because here's the thing. One thing that I want my son to understand, and this is just a mom's in a huddle. We're discussing, we're candid, right? I don't want him to chase the bags. The bags can chase him. And I want him to be grateful and not greedy, because greed will get you down a road where you do not want to be. So, regardless of how much money people are throwing at you, who is going to be there when the storm settles? Because everybody's going to have moments in their life, which, Jordan, my next question for you is this. What is it that people should look for in these contracts? What are the pitfalls? What are some good things in these NIL contracts that you're seeing at the universities? Be open and candid with this, because this is the time to share this with parents so that they'll know. Because
Yes.
we'll sit here and talk, and then the thing with it is parents will be like, well, what should I look for in this contract? Because a lot of parents are going to come back and watch this and
Yes.
say, what the heck do I look for in a contract? How can I protect my player if I don't have a Jordan Rassam representing him?
So
right?
yeah, so a great question. And you and I, we looked over Samaj's contract together, and we
Yes.
we tag teamed it,
We
and
did.
going through it, there was just in that contract particularly, there was certain language in there that we won't get into detail, obviously, but like that we didn't want in there because we don't want to leave anything open that they may be able to bring back some money, so to speak,
Yes.
right? Or take back some
right.
money, right? And there was something in there that we weren't in agreement with, right?
Right.
So we wanted to take that kind of language out, right? Another, especially dealing with collectives as well in the schools, right? We'll
Yes.
get into collectives first, right? Just in any name, image, likeness agreement, right? You want to make sure the key terms are specified, right? As a lawyer, a contract, you want as much clarity as possible, as little ambiguity as possible. If there's something open to interpretation, I need that defined. I need that clear, right? I need dates to be determined. Right? Because I need
Can you give an example that might be ambiguous? Like I know one, but can you give us an example of something that you just wait? Somebody that might bypass if they don't have legal eyes or they don't have representation. Give an example of something that might get you in trouble.
So there was a term. I remember an agreement going forward with a young man where the term of the agreement, Erica, how important is the term to be defined? The term was vague. The term was for the athlete's collegiate career. Is that 3 years? Is that 4 years? Is that 5 years? Is that 6 years? Is if I get a med red? Is it what is that? Right? That was vague. And there was more troubling in this agreement. There was no exit clause. There was no way to terminate the agreement for the player. right?
Wow.
Right. And you'd be like, wow, someone expected this young man to sign this agreement. Really? So what is that? What kind of person is that if they're trying to get over on him? Right.
Yeah.
So that's the
Red
other scary
flags,
part. Right? I'll
red
give you
flags going off
right
like,
away.
wait,
Right away. I'll give you another example, right? Is how long can they use? Let's say I'm doing a deal with a company, a marketing agreement,
Yeah.
or with a company, or maybe it's for this, let's say, protein drink company. Just let's name a
yeah,
company. How long are they able to use my images on their social media? How long can they use it as an
Mm.
advertiser? Um,
to
when
infinity.
exactly? Well, we've
Yeah.
seen agreements, Erica. We've seen agreements that really the language is that in perpetuity. What does in perpetuity means? That means
Forever and ever,
forever,
ever, ever, ever.
forever,
Yes.
ever. Right? That means they can use it even when. And I remember, I think there was an agreement you and I looked at as well for Samaj where they wanted to use the name, image,
Yes.
and likeness, and it was in perpetuity. So it's like, hold on, let's get
After
this
he left
straight.
college. Yeah.
So after he gets college, he's in the NFL. He has a successful career. You're going to be using his image. His market rate is significantly higher now than it was when he was in college, right?
That's right.
You're seeing some deals and the smart people early on that were doing things where the key for college kids is, and Big Samaj will tell you this as well, is
Yeah.
don't sign an agreement or be leery about signing agreements that go from college to your pro career,
Right.
right? Because your values are significantly different, right? And what
Yeah.
a lot of companies are doing, they'll try to front load some money to you
Mhm.
that they're going to make it look shiny and say, oh, yeah, we'll get you in college and we're going to overpay you for your college. But they're getting a significant discount on the bet on the pro side when you go
Yeah.
into the pro side of it, right? So be
Right.
careful of contracts like that, right? Those are on the marketing side. On the school side, I didn't know it was a thing until I worked the portal this year, right? And
Mm.
I'm not going to name any names from schools, right? But
Right.
reputable schools, big schools. And I saw this at a couple places where, and I heard stories of it, and I didn't know it was true until we caught somebody essentially, and that they'll recruit a player possibly at a school, especially in the portal. This is
Right.
why it's so dangerous because it is transactional. There are no relationships. It's not like the old days where a coach recruited me for years and then I go there and I play for 3, 4, 5 years, right?
Right.
It's kind of like you're a rental for a year or 6 months, even, right?
Wow.
So, one instance I've seen in these agreements with the schools even is to make sure you know what you're getting as far as your scholarship. You might even overlook the scholarship and housing and food, things of this nature, right? You might just automatically assume they're giving me an NIL package. This is included. Well, I heard stories that at certain places that guys were, taking the deal. They have an NIL deal. They think they're on scholarship, and then they get there and say, "Oh, well, you got to enroll for classes." And they said, "What do you mean? I'm supposed to have scholarship?" And they said, "Well, no, you got to pay for that out of your NIL money. You got to pay for housing out of your NIL money."
My,
Woo.
And that's happened. So,
Horrible.
oh my goodness.
firsthand,
Horrible.
almost experienced it. If I wasn't, looking for it, if I
Yeah.
wasn't knowledgeable to see that, to look for that, and to
Wow.
ask the questions, and frankly, to make it uncomfortable, right?
Wow.
For the school, for the coach, because again, this is still new and dealing with agents and lawyers, and some schools are better at it than
Right.
others,
Yeah.
right? I would say some schools are still a little reluctant of dealing with, they still have a certain stigma, and which, I'm a player representation guy, so I'm gonna say you need representation, right?
All
Because
the time.
not to dog, I have a lot of relationships, friends in the coaching world, but I know my coach friends that are coaches have agents
That's
that
right.
they negotiate with the school when it's up for a
Of
contract.
course.
So there's
Of course.
contracts in play here. So you have to have some kind of representation to watch your interest, to negotiate for you, right? Because
Right.
again, business, they're not gonna come to you with the best offer in business. They're gonna come to you with a lower offer, and if you don't push back, beautiful.
And
If
the
you
good
don't make
thing
it
is,
uncomfortable,
yeah,
beautiful, right?
right.
So you need someone that's like dealing with a collective over the portal window. I was dealing with an attorney they deal with, and the attorney told me, you're kind of like a breath of fresh air to work with.
Mm,
You come a little different than a lot of the people we deal with in this NIL space, portal space.
right,
I said that's probably because I'm a practicing attorney for 12 years, 12 and a half years. I
right.
was a criminal defense attorney, right? You
Mhm.
learn how to
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
working relationship with and there's a way to be adversarial and to
Right.
defend my client, but also we can have a professional working
That's
relationship
yeah.
where we hear each other out because we have to see each other over and over again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that's just how we do. I'm just naturally inclined to do business. That's how I'm ingrained to do business.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how we operate in this space too.
Hmm.
So that's going back to like the lawyer side, how that served me like
Yeah.
exponentially well on that,
George,
on that side.
I'm stuck in the huddle. I gotta just want clarification for something.
Yeah.
Are you saying the collective should have language in it that refers to the athlete's scholarship? I just want to make sure that's clear.
No. This is now going to be from the school, right?
Yeah.
Now as of,
Okay.
Friday night and Judge
Yeah.
Wilkins in the House versus NCAA case, you know, signed it and she signed off on this settlement.
Yeah.
You're going to deal directly with the schools now, right?
Yeah.
As far as your
Hmm.
NIL goes, your NIL package, you'll have a revenue share package, right? And
Hmm.
you'll a lot of schools like we deal with that in Michigan, and I believe Wisconsin's the same, have a general manager in place,
Yeah.
much
GM.
like an NFL team,
Yeah.
and you deal with the GM, and you'll talk about your contract and what your revenue share piece of the pie is, right?
Hmm.
Now, here's the other kicker. That collective will still be there. You'll still have collectives, which are going to now serve the exact purpose they were intended to serve, to
Mhm.
be
Right.
true NIL, essentially arms for the school, to be
Yeah.
able to help players get additional revenue
Yeah.
through name, image, likeness, separate from the revenue sharing amount, right?
Right.
So now you're going to have your collectives working to get these NIL opportunities.
Gotcha.
But
Wow.
but
But
part of that settlement, right? You got to understand the revenue share number is essentially a de facto salary cap that they're agreeing to, right?
Mm.
And that's the number that these schools up to a certain amount can pay
mm,
their players, right? So keep it level so there's not an imbalance of, hey, well, at this school I can raise 100 million for my football program a year,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
unlimited. Everybody operates on basically the same plane as how they intend it, right? So what would stop another school from saying, okay, if I have 20.5 million in revenue sharing that I can use from the school directly, well,
Right.
my collective can raise another 10 million. So
Hmm.
now I have 30 million, right? So part of the settlement was the institution of a clearinghouse.
Hmm.
Deloitte is the clearinghouse, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So Deloitte now is in charge, essentially, which we're going to see how that works out,
Right.
with being the watchdog of NIL deals.
Mm.
So any third party NIL deal, meaning other than the school. So
Yeah.
collective,
Pay
you have
attention,
a
mom.
deal.
Dads. This is the good part.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is the good stuff, right?
Yes.
So any third party NIL deal that you get involved with now, greater than $600, I believe it's 600 or
It's
700.
right. You're correct. 600.
600. Greater than $600 needs to be submitted to Deloitte via a NIL Go database,
Hmm.
and they are going to judge the fair market value and say, is this pay for
Wait.
play or is this marketing? Is this player getting paid way more for this, what he's supposed, is this local
Oh,
small restaurant paying him $100,000? Is there a market value?
wait.
That's a slippery slope.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correct.
Hmm.
So if JJ gets a deal with the local dealership and the local dealership says whether it's 12,000 or 1,200, someone has to submit to Deloitte and I
Mhm.
say I'm getting paid $1,200.
Correct.
Yes.
And what happens if they don't?
Because they're not able to do the deal. That's what I'm interested to see. What happens the first time a deal is denied, where they say this is beyond fair market value? Because if I'm the agent attorney, I'm coming with my challenge right away. What is to determine what is fair market value is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and in no way should you, I believe, should you cap a person for their name, image, and likeness when they have other deals that's outside of the school and the collectives. When you begin to do that, you then create what I call the monopoly to cap everybody and to say, oh, this is really how much you can get paid. So then we're not really getting paid for our name, image, and likeness. We're getting paid for whatever it is y'all think that we're worth.
100%.
Which leads me to two things that I want to advise parents when you're going in there to negotiate a contract for your kid. Don't throw out numbers. What you may find is this, and I learned the art of great negotiation. You probably did, Jordan, in law school. You never throw out your number first.
Right.
Because what you may find is they may offer you something higher. And then you will know where they think your value is when they show you what they tell you they're going to give you.
Right.
Right? You may be able to get more, you may be able to get less, but don't go in there. I want you to pay my kid $550,000 because they may say we was going to pay him $750. Okay, done. And then what happens is you're looking crazy. The second thing I want parents to watch out for too, the termination clause. There was a clause, and I thank God that we were able to discuss this, and I'm okay with putting it on here. When we went to Michigan, and they were very open with discussing it with some of their attorneys, it was a clause that talked about if your child or your player is, number one, publicly accused,
I remember that.
arrested,
We dealt with this one, Erica.
charged, and convicted of certain type of crimes, then it can terminate their contract. Here's the thing. I'm all for if you convicted, but you are innocent in the legal aspect, innocent until proven guilty. So in no way should I lose my money if I'm publicly
That's
accused.
the troubling language, especially publicly accused.
Publicly accused. You think about it. I go back to Coach Harbaugh.
Accused by who?
Coach
We
Harbaugh.
talk
Remember, he
about
was publicly
ambiguity. That's
accused.
the ambiguity right there.
Right, but he was publicly accused of buying a kid a doggone sandwich, and that could have, he violated a rule. So did they stop his money from coming in? No. So here's what we're going to say. Publicly accused should not be in the language of a contract. Now, when you're convicted of certain crimes, yes, but wait till I'm convicted, not when I'm arrested or charged, because charges can what, Jordan, be dismissed.
It's the hallmark of this country. We're innocent until proven guilty.
So parents, when you're in there, stop throwing out numbers. And I'm giving this in the huddle. This is a little tea, because if you throw out numbers when you go in there and you're just telling them, well, this is how much I want my kid to get paid. Sometimes it can be higher or less. Then number two, termination clauses. Pay attention to what terminates a contract. But Jordan, you gave good information with scholarships not even being, meaning your school isn't getting paid, but it's getting paid out of your NIL money. Now, this is some stuff that we got to make sure we flesh this out to look out for our kids, because who gonna look out for our kids better than we are? Now, I'm not gonna go in there and fight these people tooth and nails, because I'm always of the impression, if you believe that's what my value is to your program, I have no choice but to take it, because that's what you believe my value is. But let me show you what I can offer you as a player and what I can do. And that's where I told my son, you're gonna be grateful and not greedy, dude. You've never gotten paid what you got paid.
You know, that was a great thing with Samaj. Samaj is a perfect example. Exactly. If I can give the example of not prioritizing money always, that never, like, and every athlete we work with, and we work with a few guys through the portal. We worked with 5 different guys in the portal this spring, right? And the number one factor is never money, right? What is your end game? I want to play in the NFL. Right? Okay. So every decision you make has to be in furtherance of that, right? So you want to jump in the transfer portal, you want to go to school X. Okay. First and foremost, first question, what's the depth chart look like at your position?
Right.
What is your role going to be on this team? Are they bringing you in to be a depth guy, a part-time starter, full-time starter? Right? The grass is not always greener. You know, you may get more money somewhere else even, right? But you have certain equity built up with the current team you have. You have certain leadership. You're a face of a team. We had a young man we work with, and And Samaj, like I said, is a great example of it, of maybe saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to prioritize money, and I'm in a spot where this might be the best chance to get me to the NFL. Not to mention I'm at Michigan, which brings the alumni base with it,
Right.
which brings so many other great things that you have to weigh into your decision. It's not strictly dollars and cents. There's a
Mhm.
tangible value to the network and the alumni base at Michigan, a place like Michigan or
Yes,
Wisconsin, Madison, right?
Right.
Those places come with great alumni bases. There's a
they
great
do.
value to that, right? So you always weigh that into consideration. We work with a young man, and he had an opportunity to go from a group of five school to a power four school, right?
Mm.
And had the opportunity to make even more money at the new school, right?
Right.
Big, shiny, flashy.
Mhm.
However, for one reason or another, at the school he was at, he's able to get his master's. He would have enough credits to be able to graduate, get his master's this
Wow.
year playing football. He wouldn't have been able to do that at the new school. So even though it's a bigger school, and then there was the factor of, hey, you're a leader on this team. You're the face of the program here. You know,
Right.
you have so much equity built up that it just made the decision. I was so impressed with him as far as
Mm.
his maturity, because it would have been easy to take the shiny opportunity, but he said, I think I'm in a great spot here. You know, I'm happy with the money they're giving me.
Right.
I'm a leader here. I'm the face of the program here, right? And
Yes.
I'm gonna walk out of here with my master's degree. And I was
Wow.
inside doing backflips. I was
Wow.
ecstatic for him. To me, that's the best work. Not getting him the most money possible at a big school, and we get a big. It almost went under the radar. But to me, that was the best work we did in the portal, right?
Hmm.
To me, that was some of the best work. We got his offer up at his current school without him having to leave. We leveraged his value
Yes.
out there on the market
Right.
to get him more money where he was at. Right. We did that with a couple guys, right? Where we
Right.
were able to, they didn't have to make a public announcement and go in the portal. We were just able to, that's just the world, you know, conversations, your
Right.
representation will have conversations behind, you know,
Things. That's
closed
right.
doors, and it'll give you ammunition to get your leverage, to give you leverage to get
Yeah.
your offer up at where you're at, right?
That's right.
Because a lot of these kids, they don't want to leave, but the truth is they may get lowballed by the school they're at, right? Because
Mhm.
it's always, you got to spend more money acquiring new guys, right? Getting somebody to come in rather than retaining, you always got to spend more, is how it usually works, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like they may come to you at your current school and you're not getting the biggest offer that you think you deserve, right? There was a couple guys where we 3x the offer they were getting, right? They
Oh.
were offered something and we got them 3x by the end of the day,
Wow.
right? So that just tells you that the number they gave you at first is not always the number. Now, some
That's
schools
true.
I've dealt with, they're great, and they come in, they're fair, and they say, here, this is where they're transparent about it, right?
Right.
They've been they're very good about it. I can't complain about like working with them. They've been almost fair, and like they've been very fair in that they communicate with you. And here's our system,
That's
and this is
key.
how we evaluate. And if I understand that, I'm cool with it, right? Like you said, hey, I'm not gonna fight you tooth and nail on a value.
Right.
I'm gonna say it, but I'm gonna go outperform it, and I'm gonna understand these are the metrics and the rules we're playing by. So when we
Right.
come back next year,
Don't shortchange.
I'm gonna expect that, hey, we're following what you said to me, and he's gonna get paid X now, right? So
Right.
like schools that like are transparent and that kind of like let you know this is how it works for us, right?
Right.
I found I appreciate that immensely. You know, it's easy way to do business, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
When in business be men. That means we're
Yeah,
going to
Yeah.
approach this thing, shake
yeah,
hands on this thing, and get it done, which is why I think a lot of parents don't know and they can mess up their kids' opportunity, which takes me to the question, Jillian. How in not and Jordan, listen to this because you are the one that go in and fight for these kids. How invested should parents be going
Mhm.
in there trying to fight for their kids along with everybody else, like going to the school, sitting in there trying to fight tooth and nail? Because this is my thought process. This is just me. None of these kids ever got paid the six figures or the millions that they've ever gotten paid before in their life. So
Mhm.
there's number one, an appreciative type thing there. But however,
True.
I'm a proponent for fighting for my kid. How involved should parents be, and when should we take our hands off? If we hire you to go in there and be our mouthpiece, do we then step back and let you go in there and represent? How much should we stand out the way?
That is an unbelievable question. That's great. That's the whole crux of what we do here, right?
Yes.
So I believe like this. You should be heavily involved in picking the representation. You should heavily vet them out. You should be involved with them thoroughly throughout the decision-making process, right? But I think there should be a barrier between parent and coach, school, right? Player and school, player and coach. First and foremost, in a negotiation, right? Your coach, negotiating with your coach. If I'm a player, I'm negotiating with my coach. There's an imbalance of power there. The coach is in an authoritative position. He controls my playing time. He controls a lot of me. He's the boss. I'm negotiating with my boss directly. So there's an imbalance of bargaining power there, right? Second, in any negotiation, my job, if I'm the school, the coach, is to get you signed up or to hire you for the least amount possible, right? And part of that is for me to make arguments against you. Well, you don't do this, or you didn't have this here, or you this. It's to talk negatively. And no matter what, people are people. Business is business, but to me, business is personal, right? So it's like no matter what, people are going to feel a certain way. I'm going to feel a certain way. I'm going to say, oh, you don't really value me. This is, you're supposed to say we're in this together and you recruited me and you think I'm great, but yet you're telling me this on the other side, right? So I feel like that wall with your representation is essential, right? Your representation, he's not making a decision for you by no means. Your representation is your mouthpiece, is to gather information and to give information and to do the back and forth with the other side, in this case, the school or the coach, to come back and to discuss what is being said amongst ourselves, right?
Right.
So there's always that barrier, right? And I think once it's like coaching, right? You guys, for sure will know this. Once you thoroughly vet out whoever's going to coach your baby, right? Once you give them over, you let them coach them, right?
Yeah.
In this situation, let your representative handle the business side of it, right? They're the ones dealing with this on a more daily basis, and it's hard to separate yourself and your child, because no matter what, we're going to think our child's worth this, and the way they look at him, and it's hard to separate that emotion, right? And you want to keep the football side, and the business stays the business.
And I think going back to Jillian, what you said in the beginning about developing trust, right, with someone who's going to take care of someone who has the best interest for your baby, right? Like if you know that Jordan's going in and he's thinking, no, I want the best situation for Samaj, right? It's not about the money, because there are some agents or representatives, lawyers, whatever, that are getting paid fees, right? If you transfer and you make a lot, he makes more money somewhere, they're taking a percentage of that. So it's like making sure that you trust that representation to say like, no, I know Jordan has Samaj's best interest in mind. He's not looking for his payday, right? He wants our baby to get to the NFL. We want him to be in the best situation for him. So I think it's and I think someone commented, right, the importance of having a lawyer. And to me, it's like, okay, you have a lawyer is great, right? But it has to be, so you need a lawyer to navigate the NIL space, but it needs to be a lawyer that is also familiar with the sports, with this business. Because if you don't know about the scholarships and the terms and all these other things that we've talked about, right, coupled with, okay, I trust this person with my kid, right? To me, that's like, like I'm not letting my daughter go to somebody's house for a play date unless I trust that person to, take care of my kid like I would. So it's those two things that I think are super important for parents to understand. And it's like Jordan said, let the representation handle it. So there's that barrier, but that trust, right, is the most important thing that you have to vet them out and then let them handle it, if that makes sense.
I mean, I know how to I might know how to put up some drywall, but I don't know how to build the house. And so if we want a professional to have that relationship, to allow us to maintain the good relationship with the coach and the coaching staff and the other team members,
That's right, Jillian.
that so I can show up on Wisconsin's. Hey, everybody, is everything all good? We're all good.
Yep.
He can play ball. He can
So we can be
Right.
the family we need to be on the court, on the field.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. But I do want to add one more thing. But we also want to make sure we educate our student athletes
That's right.
about the business side. So yes, I want you to, who was it? It was an anchor woman that said, "Shut up and dribble." We don't want you to shut up and dribble. We want you to play. Girl, that's a famous quote. We want you to play.
Mm.
I'm going to pull you. Jordan's going to pull you in. Our agent's going to pull you and say, "Let me tell you the business side of this."
They're making grown man money.
Mhm.
You have to.
They
This is
are.
business.
They
This
are.
is, it's they need to be educated on, listen, this is how we handle business now. This is the real world. You need to know this is cutthroat at times.
It is.
These schools will deal with you. It's a bottom line. These coaches have to win. No knock against them. If they don't win
That's their job.
fast,
Mhm.
they might have to be looking for another job, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
understand they're going to treat you as such, and it's okay to say, "Hey, we want to get paid. We want to," but you need to understand with that comes
Mhm.
real big boy business, right?
That's
So
right.
like you want to make sure you have the right team around you, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
the right people.
Right.
I always say it like this: everybody rowing the boat in the same direction.
Right.
The athlete is the athlete you work with. You're essentially the king, right?
Mhm.
And you got to put the cord around the king, right? And
Yeah.
everybody
Right.
has to be working in furtherance of this guy, right? Together. Everybody's going to have different roles and different hats,
Mhm.
but everybody rowing to help the athlete,
Yeah.
That's
right?
right.
In his life, because he's the business. He's the guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a key for us. That's a key.
That is the key. And then when I think about parents that do ruin relationship with coaches because they want so much, how do you handle conversations with kids that come to you and they didn't produce and then they want to get paid what other people in their position group is getting paid? And then what happens? How do you handle that kid? How do you say, "Hey, listen, this is what it is"? Because people show up, haven't produced anything and want to get paid millions of dollars.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
How do you handle clients like that?
It's again going back to my law background, right? My legal
Mhm.
career, criminal defense attorney. When you're dealing with things of that nature and sentences, and you're going to do this much time, so to speak,
Right.
you get really adept. At least I did at client management, right?
That's right.
Client managing expectations, right?
Mm.
Communication will clear up a lot of stuff. So I
Managing
always
loose.
prided myself with every client, no matter what is it, criminal client, business client, sports client, that I over communicate. I share too much. Here,
Yeah.
this is what it is. This is the situation. I'll walk you through it. I talk you through it as we're making decision processes, right?
Mhm.
So like communication and managing expectations is a skill. I think I like to say we try to do the best job we can at it, because some people, no matter what, are going to say, "Well, I think I deserve this and I did this," but that's where you have to step in and not be a yes man, and that's what we're not, right?
Mm.
One thing I'm not is a yes man, right?
Right.
I'm just going to be real
Bill
with you,
said no.
right? I'm gonna give you the real, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and if you like it, you like it. You don't, I can't lie to you. I'm gonna be real and say, okay, we're in this situation because X, Y, and Z, and here's the
Mhm.
reasons why, right? So we'll walk through it, and if you just you got to communicate, right? The problem is there's a lot of people out here that are just selling rainbows and pots of gold, right? They're
Yeah.
selling you a dream, selling you, "Oh, I can do this for you. I can do this. I can do that." And then when they can't, or, things fall through, or, they're nowhere to be found, or they're no longer interested, or,
That's
what have
right.
you. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. So you brought up a good point. What would you say to a mom, parent, grandma, anyone? How to best vet out an agent or an attorney? What's the vetting process look like? Now, we talked about trust. We
Mhm.
talked about, what are some, or perhaps I can phrase it this way: what are some red flags that parents should be aware of
Yeah.
Yeah.
before they invite people into the huddle?
So one thing I'm a big proponent of is ask a lot of questions,
Yeah.
right? People that are hiding something or that are fraudulent in any way, if you know, having done depositions, having interrogated people,
Mhm.
having questioned people on the stand, right? Um, when you ask a lot of questions, people get uncomfortable if they have something to hide, right?
Mm,
So ask a lot of questions. Get a vibe, right, of the person you're dealing with. If they're squirmy or they're evasive or they don't, you know, they try to BS, you know, look at those as red flags. Someone
Mhm.
who's confident, who's straightforward, who's forthright, um, you'll be able to ask them anything and they'll be able to answer with a smile, or even if they don't know something, they'll just tell you, I don't know that really, you know, but
Mhm.
I can go get the answer, right?
right.
Just to be honest, right? To you'll see it in the person you're dealing with, the questions you're asking, and ask hard questions, right?
Yeah.
And obviously pray on it, right? Like
That's
you'll
good.
know,
Right there, Jordan.
you
Right there. Say that
like
again.
no, and it's not a
Pray.
joke, and it's not to
Yes.
be diminished or undersold, but like God does not make mistakes. The people he puts in your life or takes away from you, right?
Oh,
You're
Yes.
everybody you're around, there's a reason for it. We're
yeah.
big proponents, big believers in that, right?
Yes.
Nothing happens by accident. There's no accidents here, right?
Right.
So if someone's if you're dealing with someone, you pray on it. God, it's supposed to be, is this what it is? And I promise you,
Yes.
you'll get a sign. You'll
I
see the
love,
Right.
way. You'll
I
see
love
that, right?
that.
Also listen to what like are like what are they going to provide you
Mhm.
off the field, is what I always say. Always ask your agent,
Yes.
what are you going to do for me in my life? How are you going to help me be a better husband, son, father,
Mm,
brother, friend? You know, all the relationships in my life, I want to do better. I want to be better. How are you going to help me in my business life? Right? Ask these questions to the representative, because to me, I think it's no longer good enough to say we're going to manage your sports career and we're going to negotiate your contract, maybe get you some marketing deals. You know, for a lot of these young men,
that's
they're
right.
doing the work necessary for that. You
Mhm.
know,
Right.
your sons are going to have people coming after them, right? So to me, it becomes, what can you do other than this, right?
That's
And the rest off the field, off the court, how can you help us, right? How can you show value?
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
That's I think the hallmark of fifth quarter sports, is that like what we can help you and give you the resources you need for your sport, right?
Right.
Like with the contracts and all that good stuff. But more importantly, it's the value we provide off the field.
I love that.
I like the fact that you got your wife alongside you, helping you in the career that you love. And
Yeah.
normally families operate the way that you and Chanel operate. It's like
Yeah.
you didn't just leave her and say, okay, I'm a lawyer, you're over there. Chanel, like, hold up, I went to Raw School of Business.
No,
You know
no,
what to do. It's
Oh,
like that's huge right there.
I'll
yeah.
tell you what, I could not, like, we are, and every one of any player we work with will tell you, this is a family. This is a family run company. It's a family run business.
Yeah.
Um, my children, they're intricately involved. They know
They
everybody.
are.
Samaj is one of their favorite players in
I
college football,
know they
right?
are.
They brag on him all the time, right? They are just a moment. They're FaceTiming some of our guys before their games and all that.
Oh,
They're just as excited to be involved. It's a family company, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I couldn't do it without my wife. She
Oh,
is the impetus. She gave me the strength to do it, the
yeah.
courage to do it, the backing, saying, "Hey, I know it's going to take you away from us. You do a lot of travel. There's a lot of time, a lot of things that they're going to take you away, but you have to do this." When I
yeah.
questioned it,
Wow.
she told me, "You can't stop. You're made to do this."
I love
So she's the driving force,
Oh,
and really, like, I can't operate without her. I'm promise you, like, I would not be able to function without her.
I love that.
That's the truth. And
He
like,
drop dead gorgeous too. So that's a bonus,
beautiful.
right?
Lord, I'm gonna say what sold me on Chanel when you guys, Chanel was sending me reels of my son. And I'm like, Chanel, mom. She was sending me pictures. You missed this, mama. Here.
You're
And then
Oh, I love it.
she would show up at the tailgates and probably wouldn't even go to the games when she was pregnant. She just show up at our tailgate and like, hi, I'm here. We're just gonna be here for a second. I know I'm not gonna stay, and then I'm gonna leave. You can't talk about a more dedicated family that will come and ride for you when you check this out, have not signed a contract with them.
Come on now. That's investing. Yeah.
We're about
That's
relationships. And my whole life, my whole life is a testament to good relationships.
Yes.
And like I preach this more than anything to any of the players we work with, their families, is that good relationships will take you places money can't take you.
Yes.
Right.
yeah.
And one of the strongest selling points is amongst our family, our partners, our network. We open those relationships to our players and their families, right? And I think
Yes.
that's really where the gold happens, right? The magic happens is when you can link people up in your network, amongst your network. To me, I get a like a natural high of being a bridge builder, putting people together. I love when someone says, "Hey, I need this," and I say, "Hey, you know what? I know someone that I could put you with, and we can link it up." I live to do that, right? That's kind of like my favorite thing to do, right? Is to use my network to benefit the people that I know, you know. And if I can do that, I think that, like we're gonna give our players a leg up.
Somebody called y'all the real deal couple.
Oh, and Tony,
That's Auntie Tony.
my
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
Thank you, Auntie.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are amazing. I do remember Samaj's first camp. You brought, Chanel brought Chanel kind of did everything. She brought the donut bar. Y'all brought the wing place. Y'all brought Nick's chips and just was like, here we go, pizzas. And just was like, here, we're feeding the kids. This is what we're doing. And you know what? You didn't ask for 1 red cent.
But I think we had just met you guys maybe like the
Yes.
month before.
Well, that's how I linked up with Samaj. Someone again, a relationship I had for 30 years introduced me
Yes.
to Samaj, and the first thing I said is, "How can I help you?" He said, "Well, we're doing a camp.
Yes.
We need some sponsors, food." I said, "That's it." So I just do what I did. Went into my phone,
Yes.
and within a couple hours we had it filled up, and
You
he
did.
said, "Who are you, man?" And I said,
I did.
"I'm
I
just
said,
here
who
to
are
help."
these people?
I
They
love
were
it.
amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and
of course.
it's amazing. That's 2 years plus now
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
and that's just how do you build relationships? Time,
Yeah.
circumstances, time,
I-
time. Show up over and over again, and we've had some great memories with you all, and it's like
Yeah,
it really is like family, right?
it
Like
is.
it just we loved it. I remember the Big Ten championship game, right? The
Yes.
punt return he had, right? You
Yes.
remember that?
Yeah,
And it's
I
just like
do.
those moments. Chanel said it. It's those moments like where you're just like you kind of like it's like wow. It's kind of like it's
Yeah,
all ties together, and you're like because you all know those are the most stressful times for
it
your
is.
family,
It
right?
is. It
Like
really
the
is.
moment before that, it's like the butterflies, your skin is bubbling, you don't know what's gonna happen, and it's
Yeah.
like real life reality TV right there in front of you, right in front of
Right.
your friend.
Yeah, and I will say this one thing before because we're gonna move on. But Jordan, you would always tell me, today is the day. He about to get one. He about to get a house. He about to get a touchdown. And you know what? That year you were on the point. He had like 4 touchdowns that year. He had that. You was like, today is the day, Erica. Today is the day. And you would
Yeah.
even text it if you weren't at the game. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, man. This is beautiful.
That
I
is.
love it.
Well, we got a few more questions. I know we're at 8:23, but I want to really talk about ask you questions about like what has been the biggest challenge or the toughest challenge you faced in building fifth quarter sports and how did you overcome it? That's part A. And then we've talked to some folks, some younger individuals that are either going to law school. I know there was a gentleman at Wisconsin that was helping Jonathan. He's actually going to law school. He wants to be an agent. So talk about your challenges, but also talk about those who are inspiring to be a sports agent, go to law school, and they want to get into this crazy world and NIL. So what would you say your challenge was, and what would you say?
Absolutely. So just to understand, it's a wonderfully fulfilling business. It is a very difficult business, right? Very difficult. In that it's very resource intensive. So you have to have resources, capital, money, right? That's a big hurdle for a lot of people. And it takes it becomes a world you're competing, so to speak, sometimes with bigger established firms, agencies, right? That
Right.
have scalps on the wall and years of experience, right? And they say, hey, well, we represented your favorite player X, Y, and Z, so trust
Yeah.
us, we can do the same thing, right? So you're fighting against that, and you have to establish credibility in a world where it's hard to find people, to get people to trust in you. We've
Right.
been fortunate, very fortunate, that we've had people give us their trust, right?
Mm.
And it's just building on that and showing up day after day. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to
Right.
take year over year over year over year. And I always say, anything, you need to be in it for at least 5 years
Yeah.
before you can really understand anything, right? And this is,
Mhm.
business is no different. You, especially, we started from scratch, right? So
Right.
you have to establish credibility in the sports world that has, a lot of established players in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through the lumps. You have to educate yourself, and the only way you're really going to educate yourself in anything, just like as a lawyer, is
Mm-hmm.
to get out there and practice,
Do it.
to go
Yeah.
out there and do it. You
Yeah.
learn by doing, right?
Yeah.
My whole life, that's all I did. I learned by doing. So just going through it, and a lot of people, and I've looked at my wife a million times, like, man, this is challenging. Can I do this? And I realized
Mm.
that in those moments that you keep going, that's where the magic is happening, where you're growing, right?
Right.
The thing is, a lot of people, when they hit adversity and it's not shiny and motivation wears off,
Right.
right? When you're not motivated anymore, we are big people. I'm a person of, I take discipline over motivation, right? I'd
Mm.
rather be disciplined. I'm not going to always be motivated, but if I'm
Yeah.
disciplined, I'm
That's
always going
good.
to do my work. I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to show
Consistent.
up day after day. I'm not
That's a
always
book.
going to be motivated to get out here, right? I'm
That's
not
right.
always going to be motivated to work out, but if I'm disciplined, I'm going to show up every day, right?
That's
Even
good.
in the days that I don't want. So, like, fighting through that, when you get punched in the stomach in this business, invariably it's going to happen to you. You're going to get punched in the stomach. You're going to lose out on a player you recruited. You're going to have a player that gets cut. You're going to have, someone that fires you, whatever it may be. You're going to, it's just
Right.
like life. You're going to get punched in the stomach. It's, can you keep moving forward, right?
Wow.
In spite of that. That's
Inspired.
what I think, that, like, what's going to separate, what separates you if you're going to get into this business, is
That's
you better have the something about you that you can get punched in the stomach and keep coming, because it's not going to be easy, right?
Wow.
But if
That's
you have the guts and you have the can-do spirit and the fortitude,
Right.
then everything is possible. Don't let nobody tell you can't do anything.
I
Wow.
love that.
So I've got one question. So who are some of the people that are in the NFL that you've gotten there, you've assisted to get there, and we know you're going to grow and be even better, but
So
what
last year
are
we last year we had two guys signed to the Jets. They ultimately were cut after training camp, but they were there. One
okay?
guy's a guy named is Isaiah Winstead. Another one is Willie Tyler. He's an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both they're in the UFL right now. They both had wonderful seasons in the UFL,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're gonna most likely see them both on in NFL training camps coming up
Okay.
this season, right?
Wow.
So we also represent Malik Carr, who's in the process of we're talking to a few teams about bringing him into camp as well. So you'll see him in a camp, and we work with a few guys in the college space as well
Mm-hmm.
that are part of our company. We help in the NIL space. We help them
Yeah.
with their collective deals. We help them with camps, or set up businesses and nonprofits and all that good stuff. We help them
Wow.
in any way they need help, and even in ways that have nothing to do with football, maybe
Yeah.
just in life, right?
That's
But they're
right.
part of our family. That's how we operate.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Well, Jordan and
Well,
Chanel, I
I
don't
did
know. Kelly, you have any more questions?
First
One
question.
more.
So we've
Okay.
talked about the beginning, how you started. We talked about your journey and the things that you've learned throughout the journey. And I remember, I think it might have been when you first started. I saw you at a Starbucks. I know your family too, but I saw you in a Starbucks, and I overheard you talking about sports, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on over here?" So I was being a little nosy. I was eavesdropping. But where do you see fifth quarter sports with everything that's going on? Let's just forecast. in 5 years? And how do you think your role, Chanel, will evolve as the industry continues to change? And the reason my background is in change management, nothing stays the same. So we know that the industry will change. And so in your involvement or your evolution, you would change. So what do you see yourself, your company and yourself in 5 years?
I was talking to a very, very sharp young man. He's from the University of Michigan. He knows some Erica well and Samaj and the boys well, right? We had a great conversation today, right? And I'm in agreement with him. I think the sports agent business, it's no longer good enough to just deal with your sport or we're going to help you in your contracts. Kind of, we alluded to it earlier. I believe you have to be more full service. You better be able to help on the field, off the field with a network of professionals. That's how we're building this company out to be not just the sports side, not just lawyers, but full service, right? We're actually working right now to develop an arm of the company that is going to be essentially a concierge service, right? You're a player, anything you need, a network of professionals that we will get for you, whether that's accountant, whether that's financial advisors, whether that's a realtor, I need to buy a new space, or I want to buy an investment property, or I just got drafted to X team in X city and I need to find a place to rent, I need to find a car, we handle this kind of service will handle everything for you from A to Z, one-stop shop. And I think more companies are going to go towards a model like this, right? You need to be able to offer more in today's. The parents and the players are too smart. There's too much access to information.
We are.
You can't fool them anymore. So it's not just, hey, listen, if my son Jonathan, if he's a lottery pick, right, Jillian? If my son is a lottery pick and I know that, well, you telling me I'm going to help negotiate his rookie contract, you're not doing work there. That's already set up. There's a market that's already set. What are you doing for him otherwise, elsewhere? Because make no mistake, we're putting you on. The agent we sign with, a player of that magnitude, Samaj magnitude, we're putting the agent on. Right. So, because honestly, I'm going to get drafted at a certain position where there's no work being done essentially. So then the question is, okay, then where are you making up that gap? Where are you providing the value? Right? Ask that question when you sit down. And the agent or representative should sit across from you and they shouldn't squirm and they shouldn't be able to talk in circles or give you like generalities. Direct to the point.
And that's what's going to set you apart from so many other sports agents. I will say, where can people find you, Jordan? Where can we find you? If people are out there and they're looking for you as a sports agent, give us your handles, give us your location, your websites, give us all those things.
The backbone right here. You're talking.
Go ahead, Chanel.
Boss. That's the boss.
Our Instagram handle, 5th Quarter Sports Management. And then obviously we have our own Jordan J. Rassam, Chanel Rassam on Instagram. But Jordan's number is out there. We can anyone that needs us, just DM us on Instagram and we'll get you over contact information.
Thank you. Oh, thank you guys so much for coming. You guys
for having us
and represent it. Thank you. Thank you. We send our love to you and your family and your babies. And Jordan, definitely. We're going to probably have you back on, you and Chanel, because people are probably going to want to hear from you in the next several months and years to come.
We're here for you anytime you need us. We love you guys. We love what you're doing. I love this venture, this platform. It's much needed. I couldn't think of two better people to be spearheading this. And any way we can help, if you ever need me, you already know I'm a phone call away. And anything you need, I'm here for you. We love you guys.
I love the conversation that we had. Again, what Eric and I, we're learning through this journey. You have taught me so much. And again, we think we're fairly educated on some of this stuff. I learned so much. So I certainly appreciate this. And I know that the listeners and those who will be listening after this live show really value it. I know.
We had great fun. We had a great time.
Thank you. Come back soon. Have a great one.
God bless. Thank you.
God bless.
Wow.
Jillian, when I say we learned Jordan is like one of the ones that's the real deal Holyfield. If you want your kids represented by somebody that care, man.
Jordan and Chanel, the power couple. I love that.
Yeah.
Man, listen, I thought that new ruling, we're gonna have to talk offline. We gotta help these. We could just do a whole show on NIL, period.
Yes, yes. I don't know. My thing is probably stuck for whatever reasons. But I will say that was a very, very good, just a good discussion.
It was. Man, I'm not saying that just to be saying it. I had a couple of aha moments that I just want to pause and dive deeper into what he was talking about. So that was very good. And Chanel, again, you got to have that partner with you. They can help bring your clients alongside to educate them and get them aware of what's going on. So we certainly appreciate them. We hope that this episode gave you the information that you needed to really understand the whole landscape behind NIL. We know that we're going to be bringing other agents in. I'm going to be bringing Jonathan's agent. We're bringing Jonathan's attorney in and others that we've worked with in the past. So we're super excited about that. I see Erica's having a little technical issue. So we're going to step right into the marketing moment with Jillian. It's time now for Moms in the Huddle marketing moment, because we know that talent opens doors, but the proper marketing keeps them open. So here's today's tip: leveraging testimonies. How do you turn praise into powerful social proof tools that you can use? So just got a couple of steps for you. The one is, again, I want to make sure, how do you leverage your testimonies and how do you turn praise into powerful social proof? The first thing you can do is identify those who can be your advocates. What do I mean by that? So you can actively choose 2 to 3 people who've seen you in action, seen you performing, seen you in school. Perhaps that's a coach who's like tracked your progress, or a teammate who's like witnessed your work, or even a teacher who can speak to your character. So once you identify those 2 to 3 people, again, a coach, a teammate, a teacher that can speak to your character, what you want to do as you're asking them to be your advocate and leveraging their testimonies, you want to give them guidance on how they can do that and how they can support you. So you can send to them a brief 2 to 3 bullet points to jog their memories about like a specific moment where you went above and beyond something in practice, or maybe a leadership example. Let's say that they say, well, he was the captain of a drill. He led the team, or I had to go away for like a week and he was the leader. He showed up. Or, someone can talk about how you persevered through challenge. Maybe you had an injury and you went through rehab, or you had to, you had a long test and you persevered and stayed up all night to make sure you're not just an athlete, but you're a stellar student athlete. So again, number one, provide them with clear guidance. I need you to say this, or I need you to tell about a time when. So that's number 2. Number 3, now we want to capture that in a video, or you may want to go old school and get a written quote. I would advocate for a video. So you want them to ask them, start with their name, their relationship with you. For example, I'm Coach Jillian, Jordan's varsity basketball coach. And then you want to state one concrete example of your character, how close, how they know you and what surprised them or what didn't surprise you, because this is who you are. Or if you want them to write it out, have it short and brief, keep it brief. Maybe they want to put in a graphic because you want to have this information and give it to them. So they might say it, for example, Jillian never quits. Even when she's down by 10 or down by 5, she's still in the game. So you want them to talk about your character. And the last thing you want to do is optimize. So take that information and then optimize it and use it on each platform. So you get this video from 2 or 3 people, and they're talking about your character, your personality, your leader, and then you promote it on your Instagram. If maybe you don't use Facebook, but have your parents promote on their Facebook page, put it on Twitter or X, put it on, if you have a website. I would say that every student need to own your own domain. That's a whole nother topic. But whatever your first and last name is, you should have JillianBlackwell.com. We didn't own it. We own the Jonathan Blackwell. I own every domain name for my kids. And then we want to repeat it and refresh. So go your call to action. Do that. Get some personal testimonies and let people tell the story about who you are. All right, that's it.
Wow.
That's my marketing Appreciate
Are you
that.
able to hear me, Jillian?
I can hear you. You're back on.
I have no idea what happened to my camera, but I will say I do want to give my legal tip moment because for whatever reason, these computers can do what they want to do. But I will say, as long as you guys are able to hear me, because we're valuable information regardless, but as long as you're able to hear me, my legal tip for today, it's dealing with the House versus the NCAA. On June 5th, the U.S. District Court, Claudia Wilkin, gave a final approval to the landmark antitrust settlement, which was the original House Carter, which was the Hubbard v. NCAA, in which the financial terms of the settlement is $2.8 billion. Now, that $2.8 billion, what they're not probably going to tell you is it's going to be paid over a 10-year period to the former Division I athletes. So what that means is if your athlete have damages, not the money that they're about to start spending in, let's say in July, but the money in which they're going to start giving for damages. So let's say you put in your claim and your claim is for $200,000 or $100,000. Over the next 10 years, they're going to pay you $10,000 a year of any money that is owed to you. Okay. So even though that is approved, they have terms. As Jordan said when he was here, they're also going to put it through Deloitte, which is a clearinghouse where your kid is going to have to put in additional NIL opportunities that they're going to be having. So they're going to have to get approved for that. They're still having roster limits as it relates to that. So when you look at the major programs that are bringing this, they got the roster limits that are imposed on the sports. Some people are grandfather clause in. It protects the current athletes from losing scholarships or their eligibility, okay? And it also creates a new college sports commission that they will form to oversee compliance and enforcement. So make sure that your player is not violating any of the rules or violating anything to where they can be sanctioned or money opportunity can be stopped. All right. So that's your legal tip for today with Erica. And I'll see you back next week when my camera want to act right. But as long as you're able to hear me. Jillian, you're still able to hear us, right? You're on mute, Jillian.
Yes, we can hear you. That's a wonderful legal tip. As always, again, we talk about the fact that we have experience and we're not experts. We're not experts in certain areas. We are certainly experts in the areas that we're talking about. My background, I spent the last I don't even tell you, long time in corporate America. I worked for Microsoft. I currently work for Amazon. I worked for Xerox and I've worked for AT&T. And most of my background is in marketing. So I don't know a little bit about that. And again, as you know, Erica is an attorney. So when she has her legal, she's speaking from experience. So we may not have all this stuff with collegiate sports, but we're learning. But the area that we're talking about, the tips that we give, the moments that we give, is that's our area of expertise. So certainly we want to do a couple of things. We want you to follow us.
Yes.
Go to our YouTube page, hit the subscribe button, put something in there, go to our Instagram, subscribe, like, tell your friend, your family, your auntie, if you have a sister or a brother and their child and your niece or your nephew is in sports, tell them about Moms in a Huddle. They need to be a part of what we're doing. So we're super excited that you decided to join us this evening. We always go over it. She's
there. I go. I don't know what happened, but it wanted to act up with me today, y'all. But it happens. That's why we in the huddle.
We're in the huddle. What else we got to say? Let's go close it out, Erica. Go ahead.
Jillian, what is our next week's show going to be about? Do we know? Or they have to just stay tuned. We may throw something in there to where y'all got to tune in for this.
Yes, we always, so we're working on we can give them some examples of things. We're working on like the whole, who's in your huddle, just in terms of dating and relationships. We're also going to talk about whose money is that anyway? So we've been talking about, and so, we want to have a discussion around. So now your child has this big major contract deal.
Yes.
You got your hands on in their bank account.
Right. Should you? That's the question.
That's the question.
That's the question.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, I love the conversation we're going to have that's coming up. I don't know if this was the name or the title, but one of the things we talked about is when do we allow our young men and young women to be adults.
Yes.
What was
Yes.
the topic? Get off the
Yeah, we
grass.
are. We're actually going to bring on someone, I think, from Sound Mind, Sound Body, which includes, we're going to bring on Curtis Blackwell. We got to figure out his schedule because we need to talk about that camp he had where he had over 1,550 kids come to this camp from all over. I need to pick his brain because he got the setup for a lot of people that are from around the nation. So we're going to be bringing him on. We're going to be bringing the girlfriends on. Hey, wait a minute. I bet you we're going to have a lot. We talked about bringing the girlfriends of our sons on, or girlfriends or wives. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things, and we don't want you guys to miss it.
Yeah. And then we're going to bring some former and current NFL and NBA players on to talk about life after football. What is it like? Because again, I think they said the average NFL player is about how many years, Erica?
How many years is it?
3 to 5 years average.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they say. So it is. Well, it depends. Some people depend on your position. You can go 12 years, you can go 15 years. Just depend on how much you take care of your body, if you transfer. So it's a lot. You're right. We're going to bring so many people on and just talk about so many things. So I'm excited about that. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But Jillian, you're right. We need somebody. If y'all know somebody that can, we got a great song. We don't know. We can't sing, but we try at the end. And that's become our little mantra. I haven't what we say, right, Jillian? Moms in the huddle. Where they at?
In the huddle. Moms in the
where they at?
In a huddle. Moms in the huddle. I think there's keep going.
It is. That's the answer. Get them hands up. Hey. We're going to see you guys next week. We're going to see you every Monday. And if you got any show ideas, let us know. But we're going to be bringing you some more great content. Have a great day, guys. Stay safe.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
With us in the huddle.